Hey, it's me, and I'm gonna sit up a little straighter. So, anyhow, if you look at the thumbnail for this live video, I am talking just completely off the top of my head. There's no script. I'm just talking about some observations that I have been seeing over the last few years, and certainly in the last year, about social capital and social selling and just social media in general, and some stuff that's going on. In any case, pardon me, I had talked about doing my Bobby Boss wig unboxing part 2 video because I got the parcel last week, and this is from the first go around. This is Selena, but as some of you know, I'm not feeling very well, and today is not the greatest of days. In fact, after I do this, I'm probably gonna go take a nap. I have a parent-teacher, not parent-teacher, I have like a brain fog, what do you call it, PTA type meeting at my son's school tonight. I'm on the group board, whatever. Well, I'm not on the board, but I'm on the committee, because I believe it's important to be active in the community if you can be, even though I don't feel very good. In any case, I've got my metabolism boosting coffee, which is actually not Starbucks. I actually just really like this coffee cup, and it makes me look more American. Actually, in here I have a metabolism boosting coffee. So anyhow, I've got my coffee, I've got my Selena on, and I'm just talking about social capital and social selling. So I'll give you some background here, and this again is just stuff off the top of my head. I came from a background in sales. I have a really varied background. I've done a lot of different stuff over my adult life. One of the things that I used to do is sell. I sold an intangible product, so I basically sold a financial product. And prior to that, I also worked in another financial industry. And so I dealt with people on a daily basis talking about product. I have to admit, I wasn't the greatest salesperson. I was able to maintain happy customers, but in terms of selling more, I wasn't particularly good at that. And mostly because, I mean, I want people to want the product. I want people to see the value in it. And I want things to not just really speak for themselves, but I want people to see the value. I don't want to sell people stuff that they don't need. Because I'm a huge fan of Fight Club. And, you know, the Tyler Durden's in Fight Club, something about the media has us chasing dreams, has us believing that we're all going to grow up to be rock stars, and we won't. And that's a true statement. Now, that book and that movie came out 20 years ago, about 20 years ago. And social media has somewhat changed that, because a lot of people really do kind of catapult to influence quickly. But, I mean, social media is a foggy lens through which we see the rest of the world. So how this relates to social capital and social selling. Anyhow, there's a gal on YouTube called Tara Hunt, and she's in Canada. And she talks a lot about social media and how it affects businesses, how businesses can utilize social media to get across their branding and their message. And she says a lot of really good what should be common sense stuff, but isn't. So she really takes what could be intuitive and makes it feel very intuitive. One of the things she talks about in a book that she wrote is called the Wafi Factor, which Wafi is an imaginary, intangible product, which is basically sort of your social karma. It's how you build up sort of your relationships and influence in social media. And so I've thought about that concept. I've been reading that book. I've been watching her videos. And I've been thinking about what I'm observing on social media. So, for instance, there's a lot of different business models out there. You have like MLMs. You have manufacturers who sell directly to the public. You have companies that buy wholesale and sell to the public. You have online businesses and storefronts. You have all these different business models. And I've noticed, you know, from having friends who are in MLM, that a lot of MLMs are pushing, you know, start Facebook groups and just push all of this information at them. And I see a lot of people turning their personal Facebook profiles into basically a venue by which to endorse and sell products. And if you know one of those friends, if you have one of those friends that's in an MLM, you've kind of can track how they went from posting about certain things to completely changing the way that they post, and to posting product, to posting conferences that they've been to talking about their teams and things like that. And that's all fine and good. But I think people get surprised when they realize people pull back from that. People go to social media to be social and to build relationships and to find community. And so sometimes when you have these friends who are in MLM, and I have nothing against MLMs personally, but you see that they start to, it's like, oh, we have this sale going on. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, we're doing that. And that's great. And that works for some people. But it can really alienate the people around you. One experience that I've had recently, and this is more specific to the wig community, but it's not specific overall. It's just my specific observation. But I've been noticing accounts that I follow on various platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on Pinterest. I mean, and I'm not necessarily not guilty of this, but when I'm on these, I see like a lot of sort of it going from being a community, a relationship building, between the person's account and you, where you can interact and you can comment and you can like and you can learn and you can share value and you can receive value, to being almost like product placement, to being like, I'm selling this product. And it's kind of like, when people talk about influencers, people become influencers because, they're interested in a niche. They really explore that niche. They give you value. They give you information. They give you tools that you can use. And you grow over time an organic relationship in which you trust the opinions that they give you. But it's kind of like I've seen a lot of people going from 0 to getting married. So a friend of mine who is in an MLM, she said in one of the conferences she went to, the speaker had said something like, you wouldn't go on a first date and then propose. And that's, I think, what it kind of feels like sometimes when I'm on various social media platforms and I'm, scrolling through posts, and it goes from, interacting in a very organic way to like sales post. It's like, oh wow, I'm now looking at an advert on someone's personal social, and okay, that's interesting. But when that becomes, post after post after post is an advert for something, you start to feel like maybe less of a personal connection. You start to think, okay, the only reason this person is on social media is potentially to sell me something, either to sell me a concept or a product or a lifestyle. And while that can be seductive at times, I think it's inundating when it's not broken up, when there's no ratio to like personal posts, posts that have an objective, that are meant to sell or meant to inform or give, share an idea or a concept, and stuff that's relevant to whatever the topic is. When it just feels like boom, 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 sales, it kind of feels like, okay, well, the influence that someone was building, you sort of think, okay, I now trust that person less because I feel like whether or not I like the product, I'm being sold to. Now, I can understand this. I'm really babbling a lot. I can understand this because in my very, very small business, which is really just sort of contained within a small village in a rural area with the sole purpose of just trying to help people, which I know I sound like Mother Teresa. It's not meant to sound like that. The point is, it's just a small niche thing, and I want to help people. But I do have a Facebook group, and I do have a few people in it, and I do talk about product and things like that, but I don't get a lot of response, and I know why that is. Because people don't like to be sold to. People want a relationship with you. They don't necessarily want a relationship with your product. They might buy your product. They might like your product. They might enjoy your product. But it gets to the point where when every post they see in their timeline starts to resemble some sort of an advert, it feels less personal and more sales. So No, I'm not saying that people should not work in sales. I'm not saying people should not use social media for selling, because it really can be a powerful platform to share your product, service, or opportunity with other people and to really network and get to know people. But I think one of the things that maybe in social media sales has lost sight of is personal connection, is with that touch point where it's not just about a product, but it's about people, and it's about your interaction with people. Now, I've seen on Instagram some companies that manufacture and sell wigs have been getting really good at that. You can definitely kind of see which ones are making it a personal touch, or they have someone dedicated to that account, or they're dedicated to Instagram and Twitter, or Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, and they're personally reaching out to people. They're personally saying kind comments. They're creating around their product a culture of support and positivity. And I've seen a few doing that, and I think that's really great. And I think that is really the approach to go forward for a lot of companies. I think when it comes to individuals, though, there is this easy ability to get caught up in social media and the concept of liking things, of influence, of being able to grow your platform and share with others your thoughts and opinions and your likes, and the desire to build that up and to increase that kind of puts people in the position of doing things like, aggressively, promoting or aggressively offering product. When really I think people just want to get to know you, and they want to know not just your story, but they want to know what you're like as a person, and not what you are like, I don't want to say as a billboard, but sometimes I think that's how it feels. And we know this from a psychological standpoint. I mean, there's books on the subject. The Wafi Factor, again, by Tara Hunt, is really good. You can download that book for free from her website. It was published in 2009, but it still has a lot of great concepts in it. And again, it's all about organic relationship building. Tara Hunt had already, had massive social capital, kind of like if you think of investment capital, the money that you use, the investing funds that you use to build your company, to build your brand, to build whatever. Think of that in terms of social, having the relationships and the connection with people that increases your social credibility on social media. And so that's basically what the book is about. And that's something that she talks a lot about. And I can tell you from personal experience on the nonprofit side, that's something that's a model that's worked really well, is just having personal relationships. In terms of the nonprofit, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but we went from no social media presence at all to really going out there and caring about people's stories and listening to people in other communities. We are a very niche community, but we very much, my social perspective has been very much talking to people in other communities, talking to people with similar symptom sets or similar circumstances, and creating personal, deep connections, liking their posts, responding to their posts, talking to them just conversationally, asking, can I be helpful? Is there anything I can do? Do you need a shout? We're here if you want to talk, whether it's in our community or another community, and building relationships just that way. And we went from 0 to over 3,500 followers on Twitter alone. Our Facebook has increased, and that's because we do a mixture of personal posts, stuff that kind of shows a bit about us, things that show people in our community and showcase their real lives and their real struggles, and also sharing news that's informative. And sometimes we share things from other nonprofits, not because we expect to get anything out of it, but because it's the right thing to do, because that message maybe needs to get to the right person. And maybe that nonprofit will get the donations that we sorely could use. But the upside is we're building positive relationships. One thing I see happening a lot is that this is one-sided. Now, for the NPO, our socials have actually done really well, especially for such a niche group. And I've seen other groups, and whether it's an NPO, whether it's a for-profit, whether it's an individual, I've seen a lot of people kind of spit out inconsistent content or very sales-driven content and receive no engagement, receive no conversations, and they're not seeking conversations with people. And or there's opportunities where you say, I'd really like to help you. I have a small audience, I have a large audience. I'd like to do something with you, work on a campaign, let's do something together, let's support one another, and whether this yields anything in terms of followers, likes, engagements, or whether it doesn't, whether it yields a financial return, it's kind of like, let's just help each other. And that's been really great. And sometimes I think we've probably, from an NPO standpoint, that's my phone, from an NPO standpoint, maybe helped more people than some people have helped us. But on the flip side of that, when there's an emergency, when someone is in need and someone is suffering and we need to rally the troops, we know that we have a core group of people who we can go to and say, we've built up a social relationship with you. We have common interests. We have common goals. Can we please help each other? And it turns out to be a beautiful thing. I think the same can apply for companies, for individuals, for people who are looking to grow their networks. Give a little to get a little back. And so I know it's really easy to say, I'm doing this super cool thing. I'd like you to like it. I can tell you from personal experience in social media over the last however many years, that might work at times, but that tends to alienate people. One thing that frustrated me for a long time was I was sharing about a rare disease. I wasn't asking anyone for money. I wasn't asking anyone to go, too far out of their way to do anything. I was just saying, this is really important to me. This is really meaningful to me. If you would like it and share it and help us, reach some awareness and raise some awareness, that would be great. And I found a lot of times I heard nothing but crickets. And it really frustrated me. And I thought, come on, I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for you to donate your time. I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to maybe share this post or like this post. And I realized the reason I was hearing crickets is because even though I wasn't selling anything, I was in people's face about it all the time, constantly posting about these things, constantly talking about these things, no longer talking about my personal life really, and just hitting it hard with the, we need this, we need help, we need whatever, please do this. And it gets to the point where people just auto-tune out what you're saying because they only hear the same message over and over again. So I guess what I'm saying, my takeaway message is, I'm seeing so often in various communities such a focus on selling a product, selling a concept, selling a lifestyle, to the point where there is no more personal interaction. There is no more social about it. It becomes less of a social thing and more of social selling, using social platforms to sell a product, a concept, an opportunity, whatever. And I find that can be alienating for me, and it causes me to feel conflicted because I was following people because I liked them, and then I start to want to not follow them because for whatever reason, the product's not a fit for me. Or I'm already familiar with the product. I don't need to see the product over and over and over again. Because then it comes to the point where it's like, okay, well, Facebook's trying to sell me stuff. My friends are trying to sell me stuff. Shops are trying to sell me stuff. Magazines are trying to sell me stuff. YouTube is trying to sell me stuff below videos and all that. And I'm not saying I don't hate on monetizing. I don't hate on ads. I don't hate on any of that stuff. Everybody has got to do what they have got to do. But on the other hand, I wish that perhaps people would take to heart the message that Tara talks about, which is build the relationship first. Build those relationships and don't just suddenly switch and go, now that I've got a relationship with you and I've got 10,000 followers, now I'm going to sell you something. More than that, focus on a continued relationship with the people, with the audience, with the people following you, with the people who care about you. And then use that, if you need to use that as an opportunity to help yourself, to help build something positive for yourself, do that with the thought in mind that how would you feel? Like, what do you think when you look at your Facebook and you just see post after post from friends who are in MLMs saying, oh, I've got this deal on, I want you to buy this from me. It's really great, you have to have it. And you're seeing adverts for stuff and you're getting messages from people and it just becomes inundating. It really becomes inundating. So if you think about that and you go, oh, that annoys me, and you skip ad or you click on Facebook, I don't want to see these ads. Or you tune out your friends' posts because you feel like they're pushing product or they're pushing an opportunity or whatever really hard, then maybe, oh man, wow, maybe I'm doing that too. I have thought that, like I say, I have a Facebook group that's just local. It's just my local community, literally like a 5-mile radius kind of local. And I only took on the product because with what I do, when I'm able to do it, when I have people who are interested, is offer a full service of looking good and feeling good about yourself. And so I do offer, skincare products and makeup and things like that as a distributor. Now, I don't talk about what company I distribute for because, well, first of all, I can only sell in the UK, and that's with one of the product lines. I can only sell in the UK anyway. And two, like, I would rather have that relationship than try to, like, shotgun blast that out there. Now, I'm not hating on anybody who is just learning how to use social media or learning about social selling or learning about building social capital. I have nothing but love for everybody. But I guess the thing that has really been kind of conflicting me is all these people that I really like across platforms, across communities, across across products, services, and opportunities. There's so many folks who I really like. Some of these people are my friends, and yet I feel inundated. I feel a bit suffocated by these things. So I'm not trying to hate. You do you do what you got to do. Everybody's got either their themselves that they need to take care of, or they've got family, or they're a caregiver or a loved one, or hey, maybe you're dealing with chronic illness and you're trying to find a way to support yourself or support your family and do good things. And maybe you're building that social karma, but or that social capital. I also like to call it social karma. But build those relationships before you ask people to marry you, and don't wait until they're in love with you to then propose marriage. Certainly let that courtship be the most important part of your relationship rather than the pitch, if that makes any sense. So this has gone on for 22 minutes. I'm brain foggy. I'm not feeling very good. And I do have a wig video that's going up today, which is Krista by Bobby Boss. This is Selena by Bobby Boss. Just so you know, and this is a very end of the video message, but just so you know, the wigs that I talk about are purchased with our money. The wigs that I talk about, I typically don't review them. I typically turn them around. If I don't want to keep them in my personal collection, I do my video and then I sell them. In a lot of cases, or there's cases where I might give them away, or wigs might be donated, and I've been lucky enough to provide them to people who need them. And that it just is what it is. So there is a percentage of my wigs that I hang on to, but I'm not sent anything that I wear. Nobody sends me wigs to review. Nobody sends me wigs. I'm not sponsored in any way. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. There are a lot of folks on here who get wigs in return for content. And I'm just calling that like it is because I know there is one company out there that actually contacted me a year ago. So we're talking, this is 2018. They contacted me early in 2017 when I first started. And we exchanged emails over about 4 months. And they asked me to try a product. I said, sure, if you want to send it all the way over here, that's fine. And they said, well, choose product. I chose one. They said, oh, well, now we're doing something else. Choose something different. Oh, it doesn't come in that color. And it ended up being this like long ongoing thing. And then they just like ghosted me. So I was like, okay, that was weird. And I've had other companies reach out, manufacturers, people who are looking for social content, like lots of different things. And, I'm like I say, I'm working lots of different jobs. I'm working my own local service, trying to help people as much as I can. I am a rare disease volunteer. I used to spend 20, 30 hours a week doing that while being sick, and I don't do it as much now, but I still try to do that. So I do my own work. I do volunteering. I do try to write when I have the brain and the time and the energy, and to do that for the purpose of good. And I've also taken on a slightly traditional job providing a consultant-like service, or a sort of temp as you go. I don't know what you want to call it, and that involves health and wellness and social and a lot of different things. So I work a lot of jobs, and I have a lot of commitments to rare disease and to chronic illness and to those groups that from last year that I haven't gotten around to. So there are some offers I have had to decline, not because they weren't good for me. I mean, they probably would be good for me. I'd probably have more subscribers. I'd probably have increased followers on socials, but that's not really my objective. My objective is just to be helpful and to connect and to have meaningful social relationships on social media. And like I said, one just didn't pan out. Another, I just flat declined because I didn't even think about it. Just, no, I'm not interested. Another was, I just can't do it. I just don't have the time. I'm also, in addition to working, however many jobs locally, and being on the PTA thing, and having a child and a family, and also being sick and having all these issues. I just don't want to take on too many commitments, but in any case, that's me, that's my story. Anyways, this has gone on way too flippin' long. I've probably told you a load of stuff that you might feel like is bollocks, or you might feel like it wasn't nice or it wasn't fair. Or you may agree with me and kind of think, oh yeah, I do have that friend that does whatever company, whatever product, whatever service, whatever opportunity. And, I sometimes just don't even want to turn on Facebook because that's all I see. So you may relate to that concept, or it may all just be a bunch of bollocks. Maybe I'm talking bollocks because I have brain fog and I'm tired. But anyways, this was just my Wednesday live chat, not about wigs per se, but just about the difference between social media as an opportunity to build relationships and secondarily to sort of realize other objectives versus going straight for the objective, selling a product or selling a service or selling an opportunity without relationship building. And I'm not saying every single company on social media does this. I've had the opportunity recently to review, and you're probably thinking, God, shut up already. But I have had the opportunity recently to look at the social media channels of a very niche market, has nothing to do with hair or wigs, and a very niche market, and see what 20-something companies are doing in social, what 20-something companies are doing in terms of their sales and marketing. And it's really amazing, actually. You really do see how people interact or don't interact with their audience. And, it's very different than, like the wig community or hair loss community or different communities. But it's interesting to see how people approach it. And it's interesting to see that the lessons that some companies could learn, for instance, from some wig companies. Like I say, there's some that are reaching out there and they're making personal comments and they're saying, that looks really good on you. I like that color on you. Super big hugs, like they're being really great and social and friendly, and they're using social media as a social tool. And oh yes, by the way, they happen to sell a product. But, I've seen these other companies that just aren't doing that at all. They're like product, boring. And then they're not getting engagement, and they're not getting interest, and they're not providing customer service. They're basically just, they're shouting and not being heard. So, I don't know. Anyways, those are my observations. This has been a half hour of me rabbling like a Mother Hubbard, as my mom used to say. And now I'm going to drink my cold coffee, which I can't remember the name of, and I'm not going to tell you who manufactures it. But like I said, it's a metabolism boosting coffee. Hopefully I'll be able to stay awake for that parent-teacher PTA thing tonight, because I really have to do it, and it is about fundraising, strangely enough. So, and I prepared a fundraising proposal for the parent-teacher thing. I keep saying parent-teacher thing. you know, the committee that helps keep the school running, basically. So fundraising is really important for community-funded schools. But that's a whole other topic for a whole other time. I hope you have a great Wednesday. I'm going to finish my copy and copy? I should write some copy too. But I'm going to finish my coffee. I'm going to lie down, get some rest, hopefully feel better, and then hopefully make a difference in my local community. So anyways, take care of you, take care of others, and I hope no one felt slagged off by this. It's not my intent, because I do try to pump out the love and positivity. And like I say, if you want love, you have to get love. And that's a huge social media concept. If you want people to like you, like them. Be nice. You know, chit chat. Like their posts. Interact with them. Anyways, that's it. I'm done. I'll talk to you later. Take care of yourselves. Where's the off switch on this thing? Bye-bye. Oops.